What if I told you that back in 1991, there was a free roam first-person RPG for the Super Nintendo? It's rendered in a vector-based world with 2D sprites for trees and characters. It has a day and night cycle. It's kind of like a proto-version of the Elder Scrolls. This was the best the SNES had to offer shortly after its launch. That's Drakkhen, in a nutshell. An RPG created by Infogrames back in 1989 for the Amiga and Atari ST, and ported to other platforms like the PC with its DOS version later that year. You can find that version on GOG.com right now. Then, the Super Nintendo version, which this video is using for its review, was released in September 1991 by Kemco Seika. It's a computer RPG at heart, but actually it translates quite well to the Super NES controller. And even though it does sound ambitious, I managed to get this game at Toys R Us back in 1994 with that mammoth wall of video games and tickets for the low price of $9.99 US. This was back when Super Nintendo games usually retailed for $60 to $70 US. There were two factors leading to me owning this game. First, 10-year-old me wanted a new video game, and I had no access to video game magazines to read reviews. Remember, this was pre-internet, if you could believe it, so information was hard to come by unless you subscribed to a monthly magazine or had friends who had magazines. I had neither. The second factor, my dad is super cheap. He saw that price tag and went for it because that man knows a good sale. In this situation, the box art was the best you have to go on. It was a totally different age back then. That's like today basing your entire purchase of, say, Elden Ring on the cover itself. We were not informed consumers back then. But to its credit, the box art is so cool. You could use this for a heavy metal album cover and no one would bat an eye. You see this same dragon god dude on the title screen with a little guy begging beside him, "Please forgive us, for we know not what we do." And the dragon god's all, "No!" A tombstone then pops up saying some eerie, prophetic mumbo-jumbo, a prologue, whatever. And you can start the game from here. You can go with the default party or create your own. This was my first RPG growing up, so coming across the ability to choose every party member's gender and rolling stats, that was pretty cool and new to me. So either way, we choose our option and off we go. What the hell is this? Alright, I know. That disappointment you feel? I know. I felt bamboozled when I brought this game home. Flim-flammed even. I was had. Even though, for a Super Nintendo game, okay, you have my attention. Launch titles, after all, were meant to wow buyers with tantalizing graphical feats, and I guess back then, this was it. The title screen had a little Mode 7 action, and you could see scaling effects in the game world as well. It's new, coming from 2D retro gaming. But Drakkhen as a game itself, we'll get to that. Your goal is to avert Dragon Armageddon by uniting the 8 tiers of Drakkhen Island. Drakkhen Island, in its perfectly symmetrical glory, is divided into 4 zones: air, water, earth, where we start, and fire. Each zone is controlled by a Drakkhen prince and princess, with alliances and the like between them, and every one of them has a tier in their forehead that you need. Kinda like the soul stones from the Primevals in Diablo 2. So over the course of the game, we travel all over and unite the 8 tiers into the fabled 9th dragon tier, and then that's supposed to save humanity or something, I don't know. Now I know, I've referred to this as a proto-Elder Scrolls, but we can't free roam just yet. We get rebuked by this old dude who tells us straight facts. If you leave here, you will die. In fact, you can't really go past him at all. He'll just keep doing it. We have to follow a few beats of the story before the game world opens up proper. Right off the bat, combat is weird. Your party members appear from the bottom edge and amble around uselessly, occasionally hitting their target. There's no battle music, just clanks of metal and thuds. You can move individual party members away from the action or toward it, but outside of changing how party members attack, that's all you can do. This fight right here requires no user input on my part. My party is just fighting the mob automatically. We start our adventure in Hordkin's castle. He's the Prince of the Earth region. Castle exploration is more akin to a point-and-click adventure game. You have a context menu on the right-hand side that you can use to interact with the world around you. Your party is always visible in castles, and you can either move the party as a whole, or have members break off to explore rooms. This is useful for some puzzles later in the game. We find Prince Hordkin in his room bopping to the sickest beats. And he's just cool with you breaking in. He's like, hey guys, come on in. I need you guys to deliver a letter to my sister. Here you go. So it's high fantasy and I'm a delivery person. That's wonderful. Now, you might be asking, hey, does this get better at some point? And no. No, it doesn't. That's the structure of all the quests in this game. Go here. Go to this castle. Talk to this person. Go here. Kill this guy. And so on. We find Hordkin's castle over to the east, and it's lying in ruins. So we go back to Hordkin, tell him the bad news, and he makes our bodies stronger to deal with the rigors ahead. How? Magic. And he tasks us to go to the water zone to rescue his sister. At this point, we can free roam and go wherever the hell we want, but you'll learn soon enough that's not a good idea. In RPGs, when you encounter an enemy that's way more powerful than you and your party, you take heavy damage and you figure it out pretty quickly. In Drakkhen, they go a step further and higher level enemies will destroy your gear. Just like that, gone. There's no durability for any of your items and as a result, no way to repair your gear. This is always a threat until you get high enough in level. It's just a random thing that'll happen. It's guaranteed to happen during boss fights. This creates a lot of memorable and terrifying moments in the game. Castles, however, always respawn their loot when you exit and re-enter, so if you find a hyper-cuirass somewhere, you can take it, leave, come back, and outfit everyone who can wear it. Some gear doesn't come by often, though. If you lose items like the dragon armor and the dragon sword in a random battle, it's gonna hurt until you replace it. The open world is something else entirely. Everything in the world wants to kill you. Bump into an urn like this, and a disembodied panther head comes out to blast everyone with laser beams. They're scattered about everywhere and appear in every single intersection in the game, so don't zone out while you're following roads. Just a friendly tip. At night, every night, a constellation will come alive and swoop down from the heavens to slay your party. What a horrible night to have a curse. If you don't have any ranged attacks, this can get kind of annoying and you will be here all night trying to kill this thing when you get powerful enough to actually take it on. If you're patient, a melee dude will totally kill it, but it takes a little bit of time.
3 hours later.
Luckily, you can escape every battle by mashing the L and R buttons. In castles, you can't do that, but you can run into another room. So fighting is essentially optional for the most part, but you do need the experience to get those levels. We go from swamps to Arctic wastelands to deserts on our grand quest. The music in this game is great. It ranges from cheerful open world themes to dreary foreboding loops in some dungeons. In every zone, there's an Anak shrine with a priest who'll resurrect your dead party members for free. Eventually, your priestess will learn the skill at a high enough level. They also like to chat and give you a little bit of world building, how they have nothing against you and ideally don't want to see humans eradicated. Real nice guys, I guess. You don't discover spells in the game world. They are just given to you after you hit a certain amount of experience. There's opportunities to power level very easily in Drakkhen. Just look for rooms and castles with infinitely spawning enemies. You can make this game as hard or as easy as you want. This game, fundamentally, is busted. The bestiary is one of the more impressive things about this game. We go from snakes and blobs to Drakkens of all shapes and sizes, to poop monsters, to the bonfire from Dark Souls, to Blanca from Street Fighter, to actual dragons. All of these monsters make really weird sounds like burps or chittering or sighs or something. This game has it all. You can roam the world and you will encounter something weird. It doesn't make any sense in the scheme of things, but it's Drakkhen, none of that matters. Drakkhen was one of the first Super NES games I owned as a kid. The other at that time was The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, so quite the difference in quality there. One of the greatest games of all time, and Drakkhen. It was definitely the first RPG I ever owned, and I didn't know what to do with this growing up. I was so used to your typical action games or platformers, RPGs just seemed like a whole other world, which I suppose is the entire point of the genre. It wasn't until years and years later when I came around to RPGs as a whole, then that had me curious enough to take a look back, and that's when it finally clicked for me. For a title that came out close to the launch of the Super Nintendo, it was trying to do a lot and worked well within the confines of the technology at the time. It's a little weird, with its translation issues, being originally written in French, then translated into Japanese for the Super Famicom port, then rewritten into English with the help of the original French writers when they brought it to the States. So, writing is absolutely not its strong suit. When I say this is a proto-version of the Elder Scrolls, it's actually a compliment. To have an open-world RPG in the 16-bit era on a console, that's worth something, even if a lot of the mechanics in the game are questionable. It's not a popular RPG in the Super Nintendo library, especially if it's measured against influential games like Final Fantasy III or Chrono Trigger that have left their mark in the genre and in the hearts of fans forever. But Drakkhen, to its credit, is different. It's quirky. It's quite atmospheric, too. You feel like you're in this hostile world where evil shadow men can emerge from the frozen earth at any moment and kill everyone in sight. It's a game where a ragtag team of heroes fight against all odds to ensure the survival of their own species. Do they rise to the challenge? Well, that's entirely up to you. I think for an early title in a library for a legendary console like the Super Nintendo, Drakkhen is absolutely worth a look. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please show your support by liking it and subscribing to my channel. Leave a comment if you ever played Drakkhen. I can't be the only one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts if you did. I have more videos to come, but if you have any suggestions on games you'd want me to review, let me know and I'll definitely consider it. Thanks again, and have a good one.